So I I love technology. And saying that at an Interledger summit is like, duh. That's why we are all here. We all love technology. But I have seen firsthand how access to very simple technology at small platform and SMS campaign has transformed a community, right? So you find that something so small, something so simple has been introduced in a very rural community whereby even network is an issue. You need to have network boosters to have network there. But the impact it has had on said communities has been great. It has been big. It's transformative. The people who have had access to this technology have taken it to the next level and they have transformed their communities. So I am Maria, and I work with Kanzu Code Limited from Uganda, and we digitize microfinance institutions, from SACCOs to VSLAs to banks, everything in between. As long as you're dealing in finance, we do that. And I serve under Kanzu Finance, which is the fintech arm of Kanzu Code. So our agenda is promoting, empowering, inclusion, empowerment, most especially for women. Last year, around 2 years ago, I was involved in a countrywide exercise to digitize SACCOs. Kanzu Code had just entered into a partnership with the biggest commercial bank in Uganda, which is Stanbic Bank. So Stanbic Bank, these days banks have realized that there's a lot of money floating around and it's not going through the banks. In Uganda, we have 48 million people, but there are only around 20 million bank accounts. Meaning that yet these other guys, they are informally unbanked. They are in VSLAs, they are in SACCOs. Some of them are even in more than one SACCO, more than 2 SACCOs, more than 3 SACCOs. SACCOs are saving cooperatives, yeah? So they are banking, they know how money works, they want to save, they get loans, but they are doing it informally. They have their records are in books. Every time they go to save, they take a book, and the manager will write in the book that, yes, you have saved this much. And then at the end of the year, they will tally up how much you have saved, how much you qualify for. And this is a problem, because if people are running around with cash, and the cash is under their beds, or some of them have even metal boxes where they share the copies of the keys. So I had heard about this, but I had not seen it firsthand. So during our digitization with Stanbic Bank, I had the opportunity to travel around the whole country in different regions and experience this firsthand. And I can tell you, it will blow your mind. Yeah, I went from Kalangala Islands. These are around 66 islands on Lake Victoria, where there are only 2 banks, and they are all located on the main island. But there is a lot of trade on those islands, a lot of money, fishing, transport, trade. But the people are keeping the money in cash. They don't even feel like banking, because by the time you move from one island to go to the main island to bank, that is around 4 hours round trip. And it's even expensive to get there. Imagine you're going to bank 1 million shillings and you're spending 50,000 shillings just to go and bank that money. It doesn't make sense, right? So these people decided to just keep the money in their boxes. And then in a different part of the country where you find in northern Uganda, where you find a lot of trade, a lot of currency, a lot of cash, that the government has set up a currency center there. There's a lot of money. I walked into a market at 5 p.m., and there were groups and groups of people in every corner collecting money, putting in sacks, collecting money, putting in sacks. It was the end of the day, and the traders would come to save what they have made that day or to pay back the loan they took in the morning, and all this money was being collected in cash, put in sacks, and then kept in a room. And then on a random day, it would be taken to the bank. Yeah. So that issue there, it really blew my mind. But the most outstanding incident that sticks out in my mind was the circle I met in Eastern Uganda. This is where, talk about Fauzia. Fauzia was a young lady. She was, by the time I met her, I think she was around 22. But Fauzia grew up in a region called Bududa, and it has a lot of landslides and floods, and so, but she got married at 16. At 16, she was married. She had 3 kids, and by the time her last born was 5 months, her husband died. Her husband died in a landslide. So this is a young girl, 22, 3 kids, who has been a stay-at-home mom, who has not had any formal education. When she was younger, she worked in the fields. She was helping people in their fields. So she didn't have any kind of education. And when her she relied on her husband 100% to provide for the home. When her husband died, she had nothing to do, nowhere to start, where to go. So she called her sister-in-law. Her sister-in-law lived around 20 kilometers from her in Kapchora. And she moved in with her sister-in-law. Sister-in-law said, you come, let us, try to make life work together. So she moved in there, and her sister helped her. Her sister-in-law housed her during that period, cared for the kids, and they even started farming together. The sister-in-law had a vegetable garden. So that's where Fauzia heard about a microloans program. The microloans, they were starting from $20. $20. They will give you $20. They'll give you a mobile phone. They will teach you how to look up the prices of your produce in the market. Yeah? And that's all. So Fauzia used this $20 to rent a piece of land and to start growing cabbages. And when you paid back, your credit score would go up. So if you pay back the $20, next time they'll give you 30. When you brought back the 30, they'll give you 40. And that's how she grew. By the time I met her, she was eligible for $200. Yeah? And she had done a lot. Her garden had grown. She had her own home now. Her kids were in school. And this was a shock to me, because I have grown up in the city. I know all about technology. This life, I hear about it, but truthfully speaking, I've never seen it. But you find that this person with just $20 and a mobile phone, and this mobile phone was limited. It could only make calls and send messages and check the price of the goods in the market. That's it. Which speaks to simplicity. Less is more. The more you put in there, the more people are confused, the more they can't use the product, right? So she did all this. And when we went there to digitize them, they were so organized. So once these 2 sisters realized what they had done, they decided to bring in other fellow women. They formed a cooperative. And at that time, the cooperative itself would access financing. The money would come to the cooperative, not to the individuals, and then the cooperative would distribute that money to the individual members. And the cooperative acts as oversight. So you qualify for something, they have your back, and then you pay back, and then you take something else. If someone fails to pay, they cover you. They had this sort of social capital. Like, if I know you, and you live right there next door, why shouldn't I give you some money, right? If I know you, and you live next door, why am I seeing your kid at home while other kids are in school? No, come to the cooperative, get money, take your kid to school. So the cooperative itself gave the members accountability partners. They made sure everyone who took a loan paid it back. They made sure, and the products of how they were giving out the loans. If you looked at their books, you would think they are disorganized. But they tailored their products specifically to their members, right? For instance, they had different types of loan products. Yeah? Some of them were growing maize, which takes around 4 months. Some were growing vegetables, which take around 6 weeks. And others were cattle keepers, coffee. They designed products for each and every category, whereby if you're a vegetable grower, you would get that corresponding product, so that you're able to pay back within the season. Yeah? And if I'm a coffee farmer, my farming season is different from a cabbage season or a maize season. All of this was put under consideration. And also the fact that those mobile phones, they were doing only 3 things: call, message, and check the price of your goods in the market. And within 3 years, these guys had moved from where they were to that time when we met them. The impact they had done in the community: number one, they set up drainage channels. If I don't know if anyone knows Kapchura, but it's so hilly. There are so many hills, steep hills. Yeah, that is where most of the Olympic champions from Uganda and Kenya come from. That's where they train from, in the hills. So it is so hilly. Growing something there is really hard. First, they had to collectively develop drainage channels to protect their gardens. And since the land is for rent, there are controls. You can't plant this type of a tree on a land that you don't own. You can't dig anything deeper than this. You can't do this and this. But also, it is a small piece of land. Whatever you do on it affects your next neighbor, and the next neighbor, and the next neighbor. So in order to develop together, they work together, that the drainage channels will move from here. You will lose a meter of your land, and it will go to the drainage channels. And they all agreed, yes, let's all give up a meter of our land to cater for the drainage channels, so that when the rain comes, we are all protected, right? And then the first day I went there, I slept in the town, but I had to go up in the hills to meet the cooperative. And it rained in the morning. And they called me and they said, Maria, don't bother to come. There is no car that will come this side when it has rained. Even the bicycles, the bodas, they will fail. They will slip and fall. So I had to give it a whole day for the sun to come up and the road to dry a bit, and then use a bike to go up there. But by the time I came back, these guys had built feeder roads. They are not so wide. They are maybe 7 to 8 meters wide, right? And those are the roads that they were using to transport their goods. Now the vehicles could come up. Before, they had to load their cabbages in sacks, carry them down. Now the vehicles could go up, pick up their produce, take it to the garden, and bring it back. And I was like, oh my goodness. A group of women who were 25 had done this in a span of 2 years. In a span of 2 years, imagine that. And the people in the cooperative were really happy about small things like once we had them digitized, you give someone a core banking platform and it can do a million things. The bank is using it to do a million things. But what this person really wants is a text message every time they bank their money. Every time they transact, they save, and they receive a text message telling them, oh, your account has been credited with this much. To them, it was like magic. Like, I even get notifications whenever I bank my money. Wow. Someone getting a notification saying, happy birthday. Oh my goodness. It was like they will think of you as someone who remembered their birthday. They will not think like, oh, you set up an SMS campaign and it's just automatic. It does its own thing, right? They will be so grateful that they know when they transact, what is happening on their account, how much money is there. If they have a loan, they will be so happy that you reminded them that they have a loan. Now, all that to say, Fauzia and her cooperative were really great in doing all they did. But now imagine this same impact replicated, like catalyzed into a ripple effect elsewhere. Because Fauzia's cooperative was just in the East. But all these stories are everywhere in the world, not just in Africa, not just in Asia or India or what. They are everywhere. You find that simple access to a platform, to technology, and financial inclusion means access, being able to save, to get credit from a bank, to open up a bank account, right? But also coupled with empowerment, having the control, the confidence, the knowledge of how to use those digital tools. And this is what Kanzu Banking has been doing, including giving access and empowering, teaching people, giving the control back to them, giving them the access, giving them the confidence that they can actually use those tools to make changes in their societies. So, I want us to recognize that enabling women to participate fully in their economy can be outstanding. This small group of women transformed that whole village, yeah? Because these feeder roads are not used by just them. They're used by everyone. Everyone who comes to the village uses them. They set up infrastructure from their small savings. Now, imagine the impact that Interledger could play in this kind of thing. Having a microloans infrastructure, or a microloans infrastructure set up on the Interledger protocol, whereby instant borderless microloans are disbursed instantly. Where you go on your phone, you apply, and you get it instantly. In Fauzia's case, it wasn't instant. The process for you to qualify for a loan would take around 3 days. But imagine this happening on the Interledger protocol, whereby borderless, cross-border, right? Every woman in Uganda, in Malawi, in Zambia would have control not only over the access, the kind of tools they want to access, but over the empowerment, the effects, the transformation they want to make, right? I think Interledger is the powerful vehicle that will do that effectively. right? So us at Kanzu Code, we are focused on inclusion. Our focus is to drive inclusion through technology, through empowerment, yeah, making sure that every last person at the grassroots levels, most technologies these days are good, but they exclude some people. So we do not want to exclude any people. We want to bring people in, and surprisingly, the kind of money these people move, you'll be surprised. There are so many other people like the fishermen in Kalangala who don't have any of this, but they are moving loads of money. The people in Lira, in northern Uganda, who have rooms in the market just to store sacks and sacks of money. And also, having these guys on the protocol would really boost international trade, because right now they don't even think it's possible that you can send money from one country to another. Or, that they cannot comprehend it, because to them, cash is the thing. Yeah, so that is what we are focusing on at Kanzu Code. Thank you.